In 1999, Sega legendary producer Yu Suzuki didn't want to build an arcade game. He wanted to build an exact mathematical mirror of a real Ferrari F355. Running on Sega's NAOMI hardware, the code didn't use the standard, forgiving arcade physics algorithms of its era. Instead, it calculated tire slip angles, real-time weight transfer, and engine torque curves purely from real-world telemetry data. The result was a simulation so unforgiving that casual arcade players couldn't even make it past the first corner without spinning out. The casual player, F355 challenge felt broken. It felt completely unplayable, but to an engineer, it was a masterpiece of code optimization. The NAOMI board was incredibly powerful for its time, but calculating continuous physics equations for 4 distinct tire contact patches, while simultaneously rendering a 60 frame per second 3D environment, pushed the system's processing budget right to the absolute edge. To make this simulation work without causing massive frame drops, the development team couldn't rely on pre-baked physics tables. Every single frame, the engine had to actively calculate the exact friction coefficient between the rubber and the asphalt. If you look at our upscaled capture, modern emulation stability cleans up the pixelated edge scaling of the late 90s hardware, but the underlying engine calculations remain completely untouched. Under the hood, the physics thread is still actively fighting a microscopic war against input latency. Suzuki's refusal to implement rubber band AI or artificial traction assists meant that F355 Challenge became the ultimate test of mechanical discipline. You aren't fighting the computer opponents. You are fighting the strict laws of thermodynamics and tire degradation translated into binary code. This is the forensic breakdown of how Sega built the most uncompromising racing simulation of the 20th century. Where Yu Suzuki's team genuinely set themselves apart from contemporaneous racers like Daytona USA was how the physics thread treated tire grip. Most 90s arcade racers used a simple center point physics model. The game treated the car as a single dot on a 2D map, applied a broad friction value based on whether you were on asphalt or grass, and rotated the 3D model around that single pivot point. It felt fast, but it wasn't simulating physics. It was simulating a visual effect. F355 Challenge discarded that shortcut entirely. It actively tracks 4 distinct contact patches in real-time memory. When you lift off the throttle entering Suzuka's first turn, the engine doesn't just decrease your speed. The physics loop calculates the deceleration vector, shifts the simulated weight forward onto the front axle, increases the load matrix on the front 2 contact patches, and strips vertical load away from the rear tires. Because the rear contact patches lose vertical pressure, their available friction coefficient drops mathematically. If you turn the wheel too aggressively during that exact weight shift, the slip angle on the rear tires exceeds the threshold of the rubber compound's lateral grip curve. The rear axle loses traction completely, causing a sudden snap oversteer spin. The telemetry loop. Every single frame, the engine calculates the individual vertical load, slip angle, and longitudinal force for each tire independently. Because Suzuki insisted on using raw telemetry data from real-world testing at Fiorano, the raw car physics were virtually impossible to control with standard analog arcade wheels. To bridge the gap between developer-level engineering and standard human reaction times without altering the core physics code, the team had to build a fully functional suite of electronic driver aids directly into the game menu. Traction control, TCS. The engine constantly monitors the rotational velocity of the driven rear wheels against the non-driven front wheels. If the rear tire RPM exceeds the front RPM beyond a specific slip ratio threshold, the code cuts fuel delivery simulation to the engine, dropping your torque output until traction is recovered. Stability control, SCS. The system tracks your steering input angle against the car's actual yaw rate. If it detects a massive discrepancy, meaning the car is rotating faster than the front wheels are steering, it applies microscopic braking forces to individual outer wheels to forcibly correct the car's trajectory. To understand why F355 Challenge exists, you have to understand the mind of its creator. By the late 1990s, Yu Suzuki was arcade royalty. He had already revolutionized the industry with Outrun, Virtua Fighter, and Daytona USA. He didn't have to prove anything to anyone, but Suzuki wasn't just a game designer. He was a pure mechanical enthusiast with a profound love for high-performance Italian engineering. He owned a real Ferrari F355, and like any true engineer, he became completely obsessed with the idea that video games were lying to people about what it actually felt like to drive one. Suzuki felt that contemporary racing games made driving a supercar look like a casual Sunday breeze or an effortless drift exhibition. He wanted to capture the cold, mechanical reality, the terrifying speed, the heavy steering, and the absolute lack of forgiveness when a mid-engine chassis snaps. To bridge the gap between digital code and asphalt, Suzuki didn't just look at manufacturer spec sheets. He took his own personal Ferrari F355 out to data-log track days. He spent weeks collaborating with Ferrari's own test drivers at the legendary Fiorano circuit in Italy, collecting hard telemetry data on how the chassis deflected under cornering loads and how the engine note changed at specific RPM bands. When Suzuki brought this data back to Sega's AM2 division, he realized that a standard wooden arcade box with a plastic steering wheel would completely insult the data he had gathered. If the simulation was going to be authentic, the presentation had to match. Sega went all out on the deluxe arcade cabinet. It wasn't just a sit-down racer, it was a full-scale simulation cockpit. The triple-screen view. Instead of a single monitor, the deluxe cabinet utilized three 29-inch monitors. This wasn't for show. It was designed to accurately simulate human peripheral vision, allowing drivers to look through a corner toward the apex rather than just staring straight ahead. The H-pattern shifter. At a time when almost every arcade game used simple up-down sequential levers, Sega built a robust, gated 6-speed H-pattern manual shifter, mimicking the iconic metal gate of a real Ferrari gearbox. The true 3-pedal setup. It featured a properly weighted clutch pedal. If you didn't match your revs and operate the clutch correctly on downshifts, the simulated transmission would reject the gear, instantly destabilizing the car. Arcade reality check. The cabinet was so expensive to manufacture and required so much floor space that many local arcades simply couldn't afford it. It became a legendary, mythical sight, a machine reserved only for high-end flagship mega arcades. By the turn of the millennium, Sega faced a massive challenge. They needed to bring this specialized, three-headed monster down to a single screen for their home console, the Sega Dreamcast. The port was a monumental task for AM2. They had to condense a game designed to run across 3 dedicated hardware boards down to a single home console box. Because the Dreamcast shared its internal architecture with the arcade's NAOMI hardware, the core physics code was preserved perfectly, but the visual presentation had to be heavily optimized to fit into a single viewport without losing the sense of speed. When it hit store shelves as F355 Challenge, Passione Rossa, home gamers received a massive culture shock. Without the physical feedback of the arcade cabinet's heavy steering motor, the sheer difficulty of the game skyrocketed. It completely subverted the expectations of the casual console market. It didn't have a massive garage of 500 cars to unlock, and it didn't let you upgrade your exhaust for easy horsepower. You had one car, a handful of real-world tracks, and an endless mountain of skill to climb. It remains a monument to a specific moment in time, a period when Sega allowed their greatest designer to spend millions of yen simply to share his personal automotive obsession with the world. Challenge never received a sprawling modern franchise. It didn't adapt to the casual trends of the generation that followed it, and Sega never attempted to dilute its formula to chase mass market appeal. It stands as a completely isolated point in racing game history, a brilliant, stubborn anomaly where a legendary developer used corporate arcade budgets to build a pure, uncompromised simulation of his personal garage. While modern racing, sims boast hyper-realistic laser scan tracks and intricate tire flex models that require massive PC rigs to run, Suzuki's team achieved a terrifyingly authentic driving model using less than 32 megabytes of system memory. It proves that great simulation isn't just about throwing raw computing power at a screen. It's about deeply understanding the mathematics of physics and optimizing the code to respect those constraints. If you have the patience to learn its layout, turn off the electronic assists, and master the weight transfer, F355 Challenge remains one of the most rewarding mechanical puzzles you can solve on retro hardware. It doesn't hand you trophies for showing up. It demands that you become a better driver.